Hello everybody, welcome to my channel.
Sean Connery, the icon who defined a legend. Few actors in the history of cinema have carried the same effortless magnetism, power, and timeless appeal as Sir Sean Connery. With a career spanning more than 5 decades, Connery didn't just play roles, he inhabited them. From the suave British spy who became a global phenomenon to his rugged, commanding performances in dramas and action epics, Connery's presence on screen was unmistakable. He was one of the rare artists who truly earned the title, a legend of the silver screen. The man who became James Bond. When Sean Connery first stepped into the role of James Bond in Dr. No, 1962, audiences witnessed the birth of a cinematic archetype. His portrayal blended sophistication with raw masculinity, a combination that set the standard for all Bonds to follow. Across 7 films, including Goldfinger, From Russia with Love, and Thunderball, Connery's Bond was irresistible, dangerous, and effortlessly cool. He created a blueprint that remains the foundation of the character to this day. Even long after leaving the role, fans continue to associate Connery with 007, a testament to just how deeply his performance shaped popular culture. Beyond Bond, a career of range and power. Though Bond made him famous, Sean Connery's talent stretched far beyond the tuxedo and martini glass. He displayed emotional depth and gravitas in classics like The Man Who Would Be King, 1975, a sweeping adventure film showcasing Connery's charisma and command. The Name of the Rose, 1986, where he played a brilliant medieval detective monk, earning critical acclaim. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989, as Professor Henry Jones Sr., Connery brought humor and heart to the franchise. The Untouchables, 1987, a role that won him the Academy Award for Best Supporting Actor. His voice alone became iconic. Deep, warm, and unmistakable. It carried the same authority as his physical presence, whether in live action or voice roles. A proud Scotsman, Connery's identity as a Scotsman was central to his life. Raised in Edinburgh, he held strong pride in his heritage and supported numerous causes related to Scottish culture and independence. His knighthood in 2000 recognized not just his cinematic impact, but also his dedication to his homeland. Legacy of a cinema titan. Sean Connery retired from acting in the early 2000s, but his influence never faded. When he passed away in 2020 at the age of 90, the world mourned not just an actor, but an icon whose work shaped generations. What makes Connery unforgettable is not only his roles, but the weight he carried on screen, his confidence, his authenticity, his undeniable charisma. He left behind performances that will be studied, celebrated, and cherished as long as cinema exists. Sean Connery didn't just star in movies. He defined an era. He inspired millions. He became legendary. Sean Connery, the definitive portrait of a cinema legend. Sir Sean Connery was more than an actor, he was a force of nature. Across decades of filmmaking, he shaped some of the most enduring characters in movie history, etched unforgettable performances into global culture, and left behind a legacy that remains unmatched. Rugged yet refined, imposing yet charming, Connery possessed that rare blend of charisma and authenticity that made him instantly magnetic on screen. Though best known as the original James Bond, Connery's career proves that true icons transcend a single role. His journey from humble beginnings in Edinburgh to the heights of Hollywood stardom is the story of a man who never stopped transforming himself, even while staying true to who he was. From Edinburgh streets to global stardom. Born Thomas Sean Connery on August 25, 1930, in a working-class neighborhood of Edinburgh, Connery grew up in modest circumstances. leaving school early. He worked a variety of jobs: milkman, bricklayer, lifeguard, even coffin polisher. He also joined the Royal Navy as a young man, experiencing the discipline and resilience that would later define many of his most memorable roles. Connery's imposing physique led him to bodybuilding, which in turn introduced him to theater. What began as a practical decision to earn money soon evolved into passion. He discovered that acting demanded more than lines and gestures. It required presence, intelligence, and truth. Once Connery found the stage, his path toward film greatness was set. Becoming Bond, reinventing the spy. When producers cast Connery as James Bond, many doubted he fit the role. Ian Fleming himself initially disapproved, feeling Connery was too rough. But that roughness, his primal masculinity, his coiled strength, became the secret ingredient that transformed Bond from page to phenomenon. Connery's Bond wasn't just charming. He was dangerous, sophisticated, but with an undercurrent of unpredictability. In films like Dr. No, 1962, From Russia with Love, 1963, Goldfinger, 1964, Thunderball, 1965, he defined what audiences worldwide would forever expect from the character. His delivery of Bond, James Bond, became one of cinema's most iconic lines. More importantly, Connery established Bond as a cultural archetype, the embodiment of cool confidence. Every actor that followed, from Roger Moore to Daniel Craig, worked in the shadow cast by Connery. Even today, debates over the best Bond inevitably circle back to the man who started it all. Life after Bond. A master of reinvention. While many actors struggle to escape the gravity of a defining role, Sean Connery did the opposite. He evolved. His post-Bond career is a showcase of range, daring, and intelligence. The 1970s, exploring depth and adventure. Connery embraced diverse projects. The Man Who Would Be King, 1975, directed by John Huston, offered one of his most powerful performances: ambitious, commanding, tragic. Murder on the Orient Express, 1974, highlighted his elegance and dramatic subtlety. Zardoz, 1974, though unconventional, demonstrated his willingness to take risks other stars avoided. The 1980s, a resurgence and an Oscar. The 1980s became a golden decade for Connery. In the Name of the Rose, 1986, he played William of Baskerville, a Franciscan monk and detective, earning widespread acclaim. His performance as tough, principled Irish-American cop Jimmy Malone in The Untouchables, 1987, won him an Academy Award, a moment that affirmed his status not just as a star, but as one of the great actors of his generation. He delighted fans as Henry Jones Sr. in Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989, bringing humor, warmth, and gravitas to the role of Indiana Jones's father. The 1990s and beyond. The elder statesman of cinema. Even as he grew older, Connery remained a magnetic screen presence. In The Hunt for Red October, 1990, he delivered a stoic, commanding performance as a Soviet submarine captain. The Rock, 1996, introduced him to a new generation, pairing him brilliantly with Nicolas Cage. His final role, The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, 2003, marked the end of a long career filled with bold choices. The voice, the presence, the myth. Much of Connery's power came from his voice, deep, resonant, instantly recognizable. It carried strength and wit, even when he whispered. His presence, too, was unmatched. Whether he stood silent in a shot or delivered a cutting line, he commanded attention. He didn't rely on flashy acting tricks. Instead, he projected authenticity. When he played a king, a professor, a spy, or a seasoned warrior, he carried the gravitas of someone who believed in the truth of the role. A Scotsman at heart. Despite global fame, Connery remained fiercely connected to Scotland. He supported Scottish arts, spoke proudly of his roots, and often returned home between projects. His knighthood, awarded in 2000, was not just a celebration of his career but a recognition of his contribution to culture in his homeland. Final years and lasting legacy. Sean Connery passed away peacefully on October 31, 2020, at age 90. His death marked the end of an era, but it sparked an outpouring of tributes from filmmakers, actors, and fans around the world. What remains is a legacy that stretches far beyond his films. He redefined masculinity on screen. He elevated the art of acting through subtle strength. He created characters that will endure for generations. He proved that true stars don't fade, they become legends. In a career built on bold choices and iconic performances, Sean Connery left behind something rare, a body of work that feels timeless. His characters still inspire, his influence still echoes, and his name still evokes admiration. Sean Connery didn't just act, he transformed cinema. And his legend will continue to shine for decades to come. Sean Connery. The complete chronicle of a cinematic titan. To speak of Sir Sean Connery is to speak of one of cinema's greatest transformations, the evolution of a young Scottish boy from the streets of Edinburgh into an immortal icon of global entertainment. His story is not simply about fame, nor just about the roles he played. It is the story of a man who carved his name into film history with instinct, grit, intelligence, and a magnetic force that no acting school could ever teach. Connery was singular. A star who stood out not because Hollywood shaped him, but because he refused to be shaped by anything except his own truth. Humble beginnings. The making of a legend born into poverty. On August 25, 1930. Connery's early years were defined by hard work and responsibility. His childhood home had no bathroom. He slept in a bureau drawer as a baby. From the age of 9, he had jobs delivering milk. By 13, he left school to support his family. His life could have taken any direction. Bartender, laborer, athlete, but Connery possessed something unusual, an innate sense of presence. Even before fame, people noticed him, not for beauty, but for bearing. His height, physique, and quiet self-assurance hinted at untapped potential. He competed in bodybuilding, nearly becoming a professional footballer, and worked backstage at theaters, where, by accident or fate, he discovered acting. This was Connery's first transformation. He didn't come from privilege. He didn't train at elite drama schools. Instead, he built himself, from the ground up. The Bond era. Reinventing masculinity in spy cinema. When Connery auditioned for James Bond, he was not the obvious choice. His walk was too loose. His accent too thick. His manners too unrefined. But producers noticed something deeper. A cat-like confidence. A coiled masculinity. A raw, unstoppable presence. Connery's Bond was not just a character, it was a statement. At a time when movie heroes were clean-cut, polished, and idealized, Connery brought a dangerous charm. His Bond was sensual, physical, witty, and unpredictable. He could seduce with a glance and kill without hesitation. He wasn't just acting. He was defining a new cinematic archetype. Across 7 films, Connery elevated the spy genre from pulp adventure to cultural phenomenon. His Bond became the golden standard, inspiring countless imitations and influencing masculinity in popular culture for decades. In truth, no matter how many actors play Bond, Connery will always be the one people measure others against. 3. Breaking free. A career marked by courageous choices. Being James Bond brought fame, but also a trap. Connery knew that if he stayed too long, he would be forever limited. So he made his boldest move, he walked away. And then began the second chapter of his career, one defined by reinvention. 1. The Man Who Would Be King, 1975, one of the greatest adventure films of all time. Connery's performance as Daniel Dravo was majestic, tragic, and deeply human. Many critics consider it his finest role. 2. The Name of the Rose, 1986, a film that proved Connery could depict intelligence and depth with masterful subtlety. His William of Baskerville remains a fan favorite. 3. The Untouchables, 1987, his Oscar-winning portrayal of Jimmy Malone displayed perfect command, balancing toughness, humor, and emotional resonance. 4. Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade, 1989. As the father of Indiana Jones, Connery revealed a comedic warmth few had seen before. His chemistry with Harrison Ford was electric. 5. The Hunt for Red October, 1990. As a Soviet submarine captain, Connery again dominated the screen with quiet authority. 6. The Rock, 1996. A massive commercial hit, proving Connery could still carry blockbusters in his 60s. Even films that were not critically loved, like Zardoz or The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, demonstrated Connery's willingness to take risks, follow his instincts, and defy expectations. IV. The Voice and the Presence, Connery's secret weapons. What made Connery magnetic was not just his looks. It was his unmistakable voice, deep and textured, his grounded physicality, his calm, commanding aura, his ability to convey power without effort. Few actors could fill a frame like Connery. He didn't overact. He didn't force emotion. Instead, he projected a presence that made him instantly believable in any role, from monk to spy, king to convict, scholar to warrior. His authenticity was his greatest talent. Versus a complicated, principled, stubborn man, Connery was not a typical Hollywood celebrity. He disliked superficial fame, rejected endless interviews, and fought, sometimes loudly, for fair compensation. He was famously stubborn. He clashed with directors, argued with studios, negotiated aggressively, and openly criticized the film industry. Yet his determination also earned him respect. Connery refused to be exploited. He stood up for what he believed in, even if it cost him work. He was also deeply private. Even at the height of fame, he protected his personal life, valuing solitude in the Bahamas. Far from Hollywood chaos. Like many great men, Connery was complex, admired, criticized, but always undeniably real. A proud son of Scotland, Connery's Scottish identity was central to his existence. He supported Scottish independence, donated to cultural foundations, and often spoke of his love for his homeland. His knighthood in 2000 was more than an honor, it was a celebration of a man who had become both a global icon and a national treasure. 7. Final years and eternal legacy. Connery retired after The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, choosing peace over the stresses of filmmaking. He spent his final years in quiet comfort, surrounded by family. When he passed away in 2020 at age 90, tributes poured in from every corner of the world. Actors, directors, fans, all acknowledged him as a titan. His legacy is everlasting. The man who defined James Bond, the actor who mastered reinvention, the icon with unmatched presence, the Scotsman who stayed true to himself, Sean Connery left behind not just films, but a mythos, the kind reserved for artists whose impact transcends time. Sean Connery, the immortal architect of modern cinema. Few names in film carry the weight, the resonance, the mythic aura of Sir Sean Connery. His legacy is not just a catalogue of iconic roles but a blueprint for what it means to be a movie star, the kind who bends culture around his presence, the kind whose absence is felt even decades after retirement. Sean Connery was not manufactured by Hollywood. He was forged in hardship, in discipline, in sheer force of will. His story is the story of a man who went from sleeping in a drawer as an infant to redefining global masculinity, heroism, and cinematic cool. His life reads like a film itself: humble beginnings, meteoric rise, reinvention, conflict, triumph, and finally, myth. Below is an even deeper expansion, a portrait of Connery as artist, icon, rebel, and legend. 8. Connery and the craft. The actor behind the aura. Though widely celebrated for his screen presence, Connery's acting technique was often misunderstood. Critics early in his career dismissed him as relying on charm and physicality. But those who worked with him saw something different, a performer of tremendous instinct. Connery approached characters not through method acting or academic analysis, but through embodied truth. He asked himself, how does this man move? What drives him? What lies beneath his words? This resulted in performances that felt grounded, lived in, and emotionally honest. Even when playing powerful figures, Connery infused them with vulnerability and moral weight. His characters rarely felt like caricatures. Instead, they carried history behind their eyes, a lifetime of unspoken stories. Connery's mastery was subtle, and in its subtlety lay his genius. Behind the scenes, stories that shape the legend. No great Hollywood life is complete without the stories that float around it like orbiting moons. With Connery, many have become legend themselves. 1. The Bond walk. When first cast as Bond, director Terence Young reportedly took Connery to dinner, taught him how to dress, how to walk, how to carry himself like Britain's deadliest gentleman. But Young later confessed, he didn't need much teaching. Connery already was Bond, just needing refinement. 2. The Diamonds Are Forever salary fight. Connery famously negotiated a record-breaking salary for Diamonds Are Forever. He then donated the entire sum, millions of dollars, to a Scottish educational trust. It was one of the largest charitable acts by an actor at the time. 3. His on-set intensity. Connery was known for his discipline. He disliked lateness, disorganization, and unprofessional behavior. When he arrived on set, he was ready to work, fully present, focused, and respectful. This attitude earned him loyalty from cinematographers, stuntmen, and fellow actors. 4. The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen feud. During his final film, Connery clashed bitterly with director Stephen Norrington. It was one of several disputes that contributed to his decision to retire. Connery later said, "The idiots running Hollywood are not worth dealing with." He walked away and never looked back. Connery and masculinity. Redefining the modern hero. Connery didn't just play masculine characters, he reshaped masculinity itself on screen. Before Connery, film heroes often looked polished, flawless, almost aristocratic. Connery introduced a new energy. Rough edges, moral ambiguity, sexual confidence, physical danger, humor, and intelligence intertwined. He created the modern cinematic male, one who was both romantic and lethal. Soft-spoken yet brutal when necessary, human yet larger than life. Actors like Harrison Ford, Bruce Willis, Liam Neeson, Daniel Craig, Hugh Jackman, and countless others owe elements of their screen personas to Connery's pioneering blend of charm and steel. 11. Connery in popular culture, a global impact. His influence extends far beyond film. Connery's Bond became a template replicated in advertising, comics, video games, fashion, spy literature, global branding of cool. Even today, the image of a well-dressed, self-assured man with a sharp gaze and a calm voice is often described simply as Connery-like. His voice alone became a cultural icon. Deep, warm, rolling with a slight Scottish curl, instantly recognizable, endlessly imitated. Connery became a universal symbol. Elegant in a tuxedo, ruthless with a gun, wise with age, unshakably confident. Hollywood has produced many stars. But Connery became a myth. 12. The philosophy of Connery. Who he was off-screen. Connery held strong principles. 1. Privacy above all. He hated celebrity culture and rarely courted publicity. His philosophy, let the work speak. Live quietly and honestly. 2. Fierce individualism. Connery believed in self-reliance. He valued hard work over luck, conviction over conformity. 3. Scottish national identity. His pride in Scotland was unbreakable. He supported the arts, spoke in interviews about belonging, and often returned to Edinburgh. He once said, "Everything I am, I owe to Scotland." 4. Honesty and directness. Connery didn't pretend or sugarcoat. He spoke plainly, even when it created controversy. These principles guided him more than fame ever did. 13. Final chapter. The quiet sunset of a giant. After retiring, Connery lived mostly in the Bahamas, enjoying golf, reading, and family life. He stepped away from the public eye, a rare move in an age of constant visibility. When he passed away in 2020, the world mourned not just an actor, but the end of an era. It felt as though a piece of the 20th century had gone with him. The tributes were universal. Every generation claimed him. Every part of the world celebrated him. Every medium, film, art, journalism, academia, honored him. Few actors have cast such a long shadow. 14. The reason Connery endures. Why does Sean Connery remain so iconic? Because he represents something timeless, something cinematic, something human. He embodied confidence without arrogance, power without cruelty, charm without insincerity, simplicity without dullness, heroism without perfection. Sean Connery lives on not just through films, but through the very shape of modern storytelling. The characters we celebrate, the archetypes we recognize, the heroes we admire. He wasn't merely a part of film history. He helped define film history. Sean Connery. The monumental life of cinema's last great titan. Sean Connery's legacy cannot be contained in a single narrative strand because he was not a single kind of man. He was many. The working-class fighter, the seductive star, the disciplined craftsman, the rebel against Hollywood corruption, the proud Scotsman, the private philosopher. In this extended chronicle, we go deeper, beyond the familiar stories, into the inner architecture of the man who built one of the most influential bodies of work ever captured on film. 15. The evolution of the actor. How Connery's craft matured over decades. Connery's career is a rare example of an actor who improved continuously, decade after decade, even into his 60s and 70s. 1. The 1960s, raw power and instinct. In his early Bond years, Connery leaned heavily on instinct, physicality, natural charisma. He was not yet an actor of great complexity, but he possessed one thing impossible to teach: magnetic presence. Audiences didn't just watch him, they followed him. 2. The 1970s, breaking typecasting. This decade was Connery's proving ground. He deliberately chose roles away from the suave masculinity of Bond. Flawed adventurers, morally ambiguous soldiers, conflicted men wrestling with duty and identity. Films like The Offense, 1973, revealed a darker, more psychologically nuanced actor. Connery dared to be unlikable, a choice many stars of the era refused. 3. The 1980s, mastery. By this point, Connery had developed a complete acting system. Emotional restraint, powerful simplicity, subtle humor, controlled explosiveness, deeply textured internal life. His Oscar-winning role in The Untouchables is the perfect example. A performance of mentorship, steel, and compassion, all delivered with minimalism. 4. The 1990s to 2000s, the elder statesman Connery's late career brought a dignified gravitas. He became the wise mentor, the aging warrior, the authoritative father figure, the statesman poet of action cinema. Few actors age into roles with such grandeur. He did. 16. The psychology of Sean Connery. Strength, vulnerability, and mystery. Connery's on-screen aura came from a complex inner psychology that made his characters feel real. 1. The quiet strength. Connery's characters rarely needed to raise their voice. His silence carried danger and compassion. His presence said, "I do not need to dominate the room. I already do." 2. The vulnerability beneath the toughness. Look closely at his eyes in The Man Who Would Be King, The Offense, The Name of the Rose, Indiana Jones, and The Last Crusade. There is a softness, a private ache, a reflective quality. Connery's characters were never invincible gods. They were men who carried wounds. 3. The mystery part of Connery's power came from what he didn't reveal. He resisted over-explaining emotions. He respected the audience's intelligence. He kept a part of himself hidden, always. This sense of mystery made him eternally compelling. 17. Connery as a businessman. Intelligence behind the myth. Many forget that Connery was also an exceptionally smart negotiator. Checkmark. He owned partial rights to Bond merchandise in the early years, rare for actors of the time. Checkmark. He turned down roles that didn't respect his value. Checkmark. He reinvested profits into Scottish real estate and philanthropy. His deals with United Artists during the Bond era were revolutionary. Modern actors owe their profit-sharing structures partly to him. He wasn't just an actor. He was a strategist. 18. Connery and his directors. Collaboration and conflict. Sean Connery's collaborations reveal much about his personality. Directors who brought out his best: John Huston, Brian De Palma, Sidney Lumet, Steven Spielberg, John McTiernan. They understood how to draw out his intelligence, subtlety, and moral gravity. Directors he fought with: Stephen Norrington, LOATG. Often producers rather than directors. Any collaborator who lacked competence or clarity. Connery had no patience for chaos. He believed filmmaking required discipline, leadership, honesty. When these were absent, he pushed back hard. 19. Connery and the women on screen. A key reason Connery remains iconic is how he interacted with female co-stars. Unlike many action stars, Connery respected strong women, elevated their performances, allowed vulnerability around them, created duos, not dominance-only dynamics. From Ursula Andress to Michelle Pfeiffer. His screen chemistry was electric because he treated actresses as equals in storytelling, rare for his era. XX. Connery's Bond. A deep character analysis. Let's expand into his signature role at a more psychological level. 1. The dangerous gentleman. Connery's Bond was unpredictable. He could smile and kill in the same breath. He embodied controlled violence wrapped in elegance. 2. The shadow of mortality. Connery gave Bond a subtle melancholy, a sense he might die any day. This existential danger made him intoxicating to watch. 3. Humor as shield. His dry wit wasn't just charm. It was Bond's way of coping with the emotional detachment the job required. 4. Athletic. Animal, almost mythic. He moved like a panther, coiled and precise. Modern Bonds still imitate his stride, his stance, his stillness. 21. Connery in the canon of film history. Why does Connery stand among the greatest actors of all time? Because he shaped entire genres. spy thrillers, modern action cinema, adventure epics, mentor-hero narratives, and because he transcended his era. He is as charismatic today as he was 60 years ago. He remains the actor young performers study when learning presence. 22. The Immortal Shadow. Why Connery still dominates culture. Even modern audiences who never saw a Connery film know his aura. Why? Because Connery created the blueprint. The archetype he defined echoes in video game heroes, anime protagonists, modern spy films, luxury advertising, men's fashion, comic book, cinema, action franchises like John Wick, Mission Impossible, Kingsman. He was the source code for the language of cool. 23. The ultimate truth about Connery. When the lens widens, Connery's life reveals a complete arc. A boy who had nothing, a young man who built himself, an actor who reshaped a genre, a star who mastered reinvention, a man who walked away on his own terms, a legend who lives beyond time. His death closed a chapter, but his presence remains everywhere, in cinema, in pop culture, in the definition of heroic masculinity itself. There will be great actors in the future, but there will never be another Sean Connery.
Bye bye. Thanks for watching. Bye.